Hello and welcome to This Week in Guns. This show is brought to you by the Firearms Radio Network and the Patriot Patch Company. This show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Ryan Machad, and before you shop at Amazon, go to firearmsradio.tv/Amazon to search, then shop as usual. A small portion of your sale goes to support pro-gun shows like This Week in Guns. So this week, obviously Sean's not here. I'm Ryan Machad from the Handgun Radio podcast, and we have a really awesome panel here set up for you. I want to thank all of you guys for coming on the show. We have Mr. Tony Simon, master of all things High Point. How you doing, Tony?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me on, Ryan. I really appreciate it. High Points roll.
We have Kenny, who is the man behind the show notes and really makes the show what it is in terms of the support. And now he's actually coming on the show. So how you doing, Kenny?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
And Mr. John, how are you doing, sir?
I'm going great. How are you guys going?
Now, as you guys can probably tell, he has got an Australian accent. So weird.
Talks
a
funny.
little bit different. Okay, weird. You talk funny to most people, too.
I'll
You
talk
don't
slow
speak
to you
American
guys.
good. He don't speak American good like we does.
My
So-
wife was trying to teach me.
And we also have, if you didn't hear in the background, Mr. Weird Beard. Weird, how you doing?
Hey, Ryan. Wouldn't be a show without the two of us, huh?
Oh man, the first person I thought of when Sean was like, "Could you host This Week in Guns?" I was like, "Well, I probably should ask Weird because at least I don't know, Weird. You are my every time I do a show and I feel like I'm spiraling out of control. It's like, okay, hand it off to Weird Beard.
This shows how bad Ryan Machad's judgment is and how poorly the Firearms Radio Network is being run.
Oh, it's not that bad. So I have not hosted This Week in Guns in quite some time, but so we'll get into the Patriot Patch Company. They are fantastic. Jake is doing a fantastic job over there. If you do not know about their stuff, head over to patriotpatch.co. They have the Patch of the Month Club. There are links in the show notes. Recently had the Lady Liberty patch as well as the Summer Soldier patch. And you can only get those if you are a member of the Patch of the Month Club, and they go on a limited run basis. So if you really like them, be sure to join that. And then also they have a bunch of great shirts over there too. So be sure to go check that out, patriotpatch.co. So we're going to head into the top stories and the positive news. Guys, just jump in whenever you want to here. National Reciprocity has 212 co-sponsors in the House.
Oh, wouldn't that be great if this passes? Please let this pass.
I heard that they only need 215 or 16 to have a majority for the vote, so it can't be voted down or something.
And from what I was reading, it didn't seem like there was any of the negative stuff either. Like, because my big concern when it comes to national reciprocity is that someone would propose a bill that would create some sort of a federal system that would require, like really stringent regulations across the board everywhere, as opposed to just recognizing each state's individual requirements across the country.
Yeah, no, unless someone's introduced some words into it that are new, this is like the perfect law because it overall says that if you can legally carry in your home state, you can carry everywhere, including if you're in a constitutional carry state. No, you don't need a permit. You can just carry anywhere, and you can carry whatever you want so long as it's legal in your home state and nobody can interfere with you carrying in their state with it. It does not make a loophole for someone like me who lives in Massachusetts, where yes, technically I could then legally carry a Glock with a double stack magazine in it and be perfectly legal while I was carrying. But the moment I went to sleep, I would suddenly be a felon. So
would we have to abide by the state's laws that we travel into, or would we abide by our own state laws?
You would need to abide by the state laws as far as where and how people can carry. So if you were to go into Florida, you couldn't open carry in Florida. And if you went into Texas and they've got their things where you can't carry in places that sell, more than 51% of their revenue is as alcohol, carries prohibited there, or some states you can have a drink while you're carrying if you want to have a beer with your dinner. Other states you cannot touch alcohol at all. That all is dependent on the state you're in. What you are carrying is not affected. So if you have a Glock 19 with a 15-round magazine and that's your go-to carry gun, and maybe you got a couple of 17s beside it, nobody can stop you for that. Or if you travel into New Jersey, hi Tony, and you've got hollow points. Nope, they can't arrest you for hollow points if you are carrying, through the state.
All right, can we go ahead and put this out there because somehow this thing will not lay down. You can carry hollow points in New Jersey.
Actually, I've heard you talk about that. Why don't you just run it down one more time? Because I've heard this, and obviously it hasn't stuck in my head because I'm actually drawing a blank. Wait. I know I remember Tony saying something about this, but I've forgotten. So why don't you just tell everyone? Because let's try to kill this beast.
All right, you can have hollow points in the state of New Jersey in your firearm. You can purchase them at the gun store. You can take them to the range. You can have them in your home. Now, where it gets really weird is that whole can you carry them on your person thing if you're carrying concealed. That thing I don't know, but it's iffy. It's just weird because there's so very few concealed carry holders in the state. 1 million gun owners, and there are less than 1,500 concealed carry holders in the state. And most of those are people with connections. So I can't tell you.
It really doesn't matter because if you get one of the New Jersey carry permits, laws are going to be kind of vague with you because if somebody says you're doing something wrong, you can always make a phone call.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, New Jersey firearms laws are vague anyway, intentionally, just to trap as many people as possible and also make it difficult for you to get what you want. But yeah, we can have hollow points in the state of New Jersey.
So what is the verbiage of hollow points in New Jersey? Like what specifically is the no-no for Jersey?
Here's the thing. I don't know specifically, and I wish I would have, I didn't know this was going to come up, but I do know that you can get arrested for having a hollow point bullet in one of those keychain bullets. Yep. Yeah, you can get charged for that. It's really weird. Like you can have the hollow points at home and you can have them at the range, but you can't have them in your car if you're not on your way home or at the range.
Ah, I gotcha.
So weird. Kenny, do you have any weird laws like that where you are? Would this affect you at all, or would you just basically be like, oh, I can carry everywhere else now?
I recently relocated to the great state of Texas, so I don't have any of those issues to deal with. Although I grew up in New York and then I lived in California for 3 decades, so I understand what it is to feel the pain of overbearing legislation.
And I really want to say this to you guys out there who live in the state that actually has representatives that will pay attention to you. And even if you don't, write them and tell them to vote for this. Let them know. Give them calls because they do work for you. I know a lot of people are shy. Oh, I don't know. What do I say? You call them up and you act like they owe you money. You tell them what you want.
It's actually what the NRA is requesting right now. That people reach out to their senators and congressmen and ask them to support this because it still needs a push. And just because we have a majority in both the Senate and the House doesn't mean it's a slam dunk, and we still need to do our part to make sure that it goes through, especially since Speaker Ryan has been trying to table it and put it on the back burner.
Because we have a lot of wishy-washy Republicans out there that just can't wait not to sign on to something like Paul Ryan saying it's not the time and silly stuff like that. You got to light a fire in these people's butts. Us as gun owners sit on our tails too long and we're usually reactive. We need to get proactive. We got 4 years, or at least 2 years. We need to light fires, man.
I've been sending emails to all of my, not my representatives, because at the moment I'm not a US citizen, but they don't know it. I bombard them with the emails from Gun Owners of America, NRA, Second Amendment Foundation, and things like that. But I know I've only got one representative that will listen. The other 2 Democrats, and they just follow the party line.
Yep, but do it anyway. Hit them up anyway. It's good practice. Well, the NRA, if you go to NRA ILA's page, they should have it just so you can link directly. You click on your representatives, and it will send the email in your name. It'll also give you the contact information, so you can just write that down and call them directly. and just tell them to vote yes on this. And that's all you have to say. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out discussion, or it's not going to be point, counterpoint. You know what I mean? It's just going to be you telling them how you want them to vote.
So the next one here is the 10 most expensive guns at the Rock Island Auction House. Now,
I know what I want.
You're cutting out.
I'm actually looking forward at the end of October. We're going to be able to go to the James Julia Auction House and check out some of the stuff they have up there. And so here, though, the 10 most expensive firearms sold at auction at Rock Island. Number 10, Thompson for $63,250.
Yeah, nah. just wow.
I don't know. So cool. I don't know my Thompsons. Like, are there some like super duper collectible ones? Because overall, Thompsons are kind of considered one of the better. Like, oh, you want a full auto? Yeah, go get a Thompson. I mean, yeah, you can get like a Mac 10 for pretty cheap, or some other, you know, fairly cheaply made full autos. But the Thompson is one of the better reputable guns that you can still get a lot of, because they made a gazillion of them and they all stayed in the country.
Well, Thompsons were overbuilt in the first place. I mean, we're talking like a 10, 11 pound 45.
Oh my God, they're so heavy.
Pistol caliber carbine. Oh, it is not a lightweight thing. And I don't know what those guys carried in movies and flung around all over the place, but I know they weren't real. Yeah. Because one of the guys, Alan Wong, he brings one to our diversity shoots, and of course it has a 16-inch barrel and Jersey legal magazines, so it kind of sucks, but it's still awesome because it's a Thompson.
So cool. The early ones, I think those are probably the ones that are just most desirable because they're the nicest made. They're, you know, they have really impeccable bluing jobs. Some of the early ones came, I think they call it like the FBI case, where you'd have a bunch of different magazines plus a bunch of different stick magazines. And I got to handle one when I was up at Julia's that was from 1921, I think, and it was owned by SFPD, so that could be any police department with the initials SF, but I mean, it was just a cool piece of history to hold, but they're heavy as hell.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, because they were so overbuilt and went to a lot of PDs, and I don't think at that time they rode around in squad cars, so they stayed in the armories. So they didn't get beat up, you know, like cops tend to do anything that they have for more than 5 minutes. So
it was actually a police department.
Yeah.
Well, there was actually a police department recently that found a bunch of early modeled Thompsons in their armory, and they were fully transferable, and they went out. So this may be one of those guns.
Yeah, we also found some in our prison too. They found some because, again, prison guards had them too. So again, things that stayed parked in an armory and didn't get beat up. They actually opened an old safe that was inside the prison because, you know, the prison was added on to. Well, when you'd come in back in the day, you'd take your firearm and you'd lock it right at the entrance of the prison. Of course, you wouldn't bring the firearm into the prison. Well, when they moved the entrance of the prison, they left the safe there. So now that safe was in the middle of the prison and it had 2 Tommy guns in it.
Oh, nice. Anything else?
Yeah. That was all I was told that was in there.
Oh, okay.
So we'll move on to the next one here. Silencer Shop promo: buy your tax stamp, pay for your can when the Form 4 gets approved. So who wants to take that one?
I'll take that one. I've done that actually with Rebel Silencers. They had to pay half, and then when the Share Act or the HBA passes, you pay the rest, and then they send it to your local gun shop. I got my hands on a 30 cal can, which will fit on my M4, and I couldn't pass it up for the price. 125 down, and then you pay another 125 when the HBA passes or the Share Act passes. I couldn't pass it up. Not that the wife knows about it, of course.
Yeah, that is awesome. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, unfortunately, it finished last weekend or the weekend before. But their silencers are $250. and I did a lot of reading up on their silencers, and they have really good reviews.
Yeah, they're actually quiet cans for the money. This particular promo is specifically for the Q silencers, so it's actually a Q running through silencer shop. But by the tax stamp, once that gets approved, then you go ahead and pay for the can. So obviously, with a lot of people waiting for the Share Act or the Hush Act or one of those to go through, they're not buying cans. So this is a way for them to promote, hey, look, don't put your money out if you think that it's just going to be sitting there for a while, and let's go ahead and get some action going. And in the event that it does go through, you're going to get that money back. But in the meantime, let's stimulate something. So I think it's a good move. I think it's going to help disperse some sales because let's face it, the silencer market right now is pretty flat.
Yeah, I mean, it's a smart move. You've got to do something because, again, who wants to be the person to like get their, have their shop call them and say, oh, your can's in that you paid the tax stamp for, like 3 days after when the headline on the paper that morning was that the Share Act or the Hush Act passed, and now suppressors are off the NFA. Like, oh, great. I got like the last NFA can out there. That's going to hurt. So a lot of people are sitting on their hands and they're waiting to either see if the act goes through or if it gets torpedoed. If it gets completely torpedoed and goes down, there'll probably be a little bit of a bump as well. Like it'll actually, this law actually getting shut down would actually be good for the silencer industry, believe it or not. So coming up with some innovative ideas is a smart way to just get people to buy cans because people want cans because they're awesome.
True.
Yep.
So the high school teacher, it's kind of weird, everybody. I didn't hear about this in any really major news outlets. High school teacher tackles active shooter.
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah.
Not hearing good news like an unarmed person stopped an active shooter by actually physically jumping on top of the person.
Or the same thing with the guy at the church there.
Uh-huh. And we as the gun community, I sometimes think we do ourselves a disservice by continually saying it takes an armed person with a gun to stop a person with a gun, a good guy with a gun to stop a bad guy with a gun. That's not true. It takes somebody who's willing to actually act and act decisively, and that's what this person did. The female teacher, by the way, jumped on top of this dude and made a stop. And sometimes you have to be that spark to actually get people moving. And she saved a lot of lives. One person got shot twice, and one person got their knuckles grazed.
I heard about this on NRA News. They've been covering this a fair bit in the last week or so. And again, like Tony said, you hear it nowhere else.
Right.
Yeah, I think an important thing to point out here is the fact that she had just recently gone through active shooter training. And how many school districts out there are afraid to go ahead and put money into active shooter training because just the stigma of it, or what else may be tied with it, that some of them are actually going to be learning how to shoot and how to use defensive tactics, and school districts don't want to be responsible for that.
Yes,
but
you're right. It's silly. School districts don't want to be responsible for people learning how to take care of themselves.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you revert to your level of training. If you've never actually trained for something like that happening, you may freeze. But if you're in that room where, you're in the cafeteria and the guy's 5 feet away from you and he pulls the gun out of the backpack or whatever and starts shooting, you're in the situation. If you can act, if you have that training, you should, try to do what you can. I mean, what have you got to lose at that point? You're 5 feet away. Your chances are you're already involved in the situation.
And let me say something, because I've taken active shooter training as part of my job. State mandated active shooter training. Let me explain. That was horrible. I was so ticked off because, again, as a firearms trainer myself and knowing other trainers and various things, we actually put together a civilian active shooter response class on the outside. And I went to that, and it was so much better. So if you're a school teacher or if you're someone who just wants to understand active shooter response, go find a class and take it yourself, and don't wait for your job to do it. You could end up waiting for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? You not know what to do. You have no clue. And I really had some good, it was person on person. It was hand on active shooter training. And it was worth having.
And that's good for somebody who has a background, Tony?
What was that?
Yeah.
I was going to say that's good for somebody that has a background, but a lot of these teachers have no background. So giving them any type of training is going to be a benefit over what they currently have.
Truthfully, no, because the one I had at work, they sat down and said, yeah, if somebody comes in, throw stuff at them and run away. And that was the extent of it. There was no scenarios going on. It was horrible. As well have been a YouTube video they watched. And I understand that might be better than nothing, but no one paid attention to it.
True.
Pay out of your
I didn't
pocket,
realize it
get
was
some
that
training.
bad.
Oh, it was horrible. I mean, it actually made me angry that they wasted half a day for me to be there.
So the next one here, Glock. This is one I want to talk about because we talked about it on Handgun Radio. Glock introduces the rotating barrel Model 46. What do you guys think about this? Because I'm still, I heard that first article about it, and then I haven't heard anything else.
Still couldn't figure out how to put French serrations on it, huh?
I have no idea what this means by a rotating barrel in a handgun. I've seen a few videos on other handguns with a rotating barrel, but what exactly does it mean? What advantage over a standard barrel compared to a rotating barrel?
So you'll always hear basically the main advantage is that the barrel does not tilt like you would see in a Browning action, like everything else that we see, like a normal Glock, where the barrel drops down to unlock. So supposedly you can wring more accuracy out of this because it's only rotating. It's not moving on any other plane. It's staying completely vertical or completely horizontal and not actually dropping down. So it's more consistent accuracy wise, I guess. Some people claim that guns like the Beretta PX4 Storm shoot a little bit softer, but I mean, I've shot a couple of them. I've never really noticed that much of a difference.
Yeah, I think it's all academic when it comes to those different things. Because I mean, let's face it, the bullets leaving the barrel before the barrels really even started to move. You know, whether it's up or down or rotating or all that. I don't.
I'm 100% agreement with you.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, the rotating barrels, I don't like them, just because it makes putting a suppressor on them. If you're gonna thread something onto that barrel, it makes it a lot more complicated. You've got to either do like a reverse pitch threading, and is it going to seize up the threading from repeated firing? There's all sorts of complicated stuff on it. I mean, I think the only advantage I see on this Glock is that it does appear that you can take the gun completely apart without touching the trigger, because essentially the first stage, instead of the takedown tabs like everyone that's got a Glock is used to, you're actually pulling the striker assembly out of the gun is the first step of disassembling it.
Well, and at this point in time, is that even, I mean, I know I'll probably get hate mail for this, but is that still even a concern? There are so many guns out there that require it.
It's always going to be a concern, because you're always going to have someone who's going to blow a hole in their hand. I mean,
yeah, but that's not the gun's fault. That's your own stupidity.
You should blow a hole in your hand. I'm so tired of this still being a thing at this point with striker fire guns 30 years later. Shoot yourself in the face if you can't figure it out. I'm tired of it. Just give it up.
I'm with you, Tony. Yeah, it's one of those, like, yeah, under no circumstance when you are handling a firearm, specifically if you're pulling a gun out of the holster and you are unloading your carry gun to clean it, maintenance, to put it away, or all of that, is one of those, like, there should be never a moment where you are doing anything routine. That is all you're focused on. That's all you're doing.
Exactly. That should be the only thing you're doing. My brother, law enforcement officer, gung-ho, blah, blah. Yeah, sent around through the floor as he was stripping his gun out because he forgot. He didn't take a round out of the chamber. He just dropped the mag and started doing what he do. And, yeah, he put a hole through the floor on the second floor. My nephew was, on the first floor. Didn't come anywhere near him, but still scared the heck out of everyone in the house because you're too dumb to make sure your gun is empty. And I get tired of it because it's basics, Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm guilty of the other way around. Is I will, while I'm handling a gun, I might suddenly find myself thinking about what am I going to cook for dinner tonight, and realize, I'm not focusing on the gun. Time to do another press check. Trying to clear the gun again, just to make sure that, yes, in fact, this gun is still unloaded.
Yep.
I just don't see that as much of it as I don't see that selling point as something that is that enticing to the point where I would want to change from the tried and true Glock formula, and that's coming from a guy who doesn't like Glocks. So
Yeah, and the other thing that gets me is what's the need for this more accurate, the more accurate
and is it
barrel?
really?
Don't you? Yeah, and I'm saying because you just came out with the Glock 5 with the most super accurate barrel ever owned by a Glock, ever put in a Glock.
Right.
I mean, it's just the hyperbole just never stops with them. And why am I co-signing on something they've never done before? That's yes.
Maybe it has to do with the fact that more and more Glocks are being seen in competition, so they're trying to get whatever edge they can to help grow their dominance in that arena.
Or again, we can talk just like we're talking a big game about how this is, nothing but smoke and mirrors. They could talk just a good a game about how much more awesome that is going to work. I mean, the same idea as you go on any internet forum and people talk about, oh, Glocks are horribly inaccurate because of blah, 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 and blah. And no, an equally good shooter, with a tricked out 1911 will be able to shoot, similar groups with a stock Glock. It's just, it's the shooter is the more important factor in 99% of all shooting.
Yeah, I don't know many people that actually are more accurate than the firearm they have.
Excellent. So that brings us out of the positive news segment. So booby-trapped shotgun bought online reported to BATFE. Now, I saw this article earlier this week. I actually did not read it. So what's going on here?
So apparently it looks like somebody
supposedly
Oh, you go ahead, John.
Okay. Supposedly a person bought a firearm online. When it was sent to the FFL, they took it down to make to clean it, and they found out that somehow there was a firing pin and a round facing backwards towards the shooter. So if they would have racked the slide, chamber a round, chamber to make sure it was opened, it would have hit the firing pin and fired that round back at the person that was shouldering the firearm.
Yeah, it looks like I was just looking over the thing. I'm not familiar with that model of shotgun. I think they said it was a Winchester 1200, but it looks like it wasn't even a firing pin. It looks like actually what they just set it's a 32 ACP cartridge. They inlaid it into the stock again with the bullet facing the butt pad of the stock, and got it so that one of the action bars would come back. At least that's what it looks like. Again, I'm not familiar with the shotgun, but there's one picture in the article where I see what looks like an action bar coming back towards the pistol round, but essentially the gun wasn't working right, and they're like, what's wrong with this gun? Why is it not working? So they sent it to a gunsmith. He tore it apart and said, well, it's not working because somebody jammed a 32 ACP into the gun, and all this messing around with the gun, we have dented the crap out of the head of the round, but thankfully not the primer. So it was very, very close to actually setting the round off.
Now, I wonder, is this booby-trapped, or it was just something horribly...
I don't know. Unless there's like some really, really good support and all that, I just don't see, like, if there's no, I'm 32 ACP, it's not a terribly powerful round. It's also not a round I do not want to be behind, especially at contact distances.
Well,
that being said, for bullets to be dangerous, or for cartridges to be dangerous, they need to be fully supported, because if you just hold a round in your hand and hit a hammer against the primer, it's going to blow up in your face. The cartridge is going to fail before the bullet gets launched very far, and then with the support, if you don't have a barrel, like I suspect this thing was just jammed into the stock, it's actually not going to, the bullet's not going to go very far. It's going to blow the case back further. At least would be
pretty much.
Yeah,
I really want to tear my gun. I have one. I have
what's
a
going to
1300.
happen though? Because the way that bullet is placed, it looks like it's placed in such a way that it would be directly underneath your right cheek for a right-handed shooter shouldering this shotgun, coming into the wrist of the stock. Even if the bullet doesn't hit you, what's going to happen when that round banana peels or something? It's going to blow chunks of wood and stuff in your face.
Very easily could splinter the stock.
Yeah.
Your face looks like it's going to be right there.
Or the aluminum back there, because that aluminum is, that's not really a stress point, so it's probably not real thick over there.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be the bullet that gets you, but you definitely may be pretty maimed if it does eventually go off. And 32 is no slouch in the pressure department either.
Yeah. Actually, I really want to tear my Winchester apart to see if that hold is already there and somebody just dropped something.
See if there's a 32 in there now.
Oh, I could care less about now. It should have blown up. Plus, it's only a 32. I'll be fine.
You went there.
Yeah, I went there. I don't care.
So we'll have Kenny on the next one here. Fresno County speeding up CCW applications. How is it out there, Kenny?
Fresno County is actually, quite a bit more liberal because it's a lot of farmland. So it's inland. It's actually, one of the red areas in the state, which there are quite a number of red areas in the state. They just don't have a whole lot of population, so they don't carry any weight. So the fact that they're speeding it up, I mean, that helps, but it doesn't really do anything in the grand scheme of things because there's not a large population that's really going to affect.
Well, I mean, in most of California, isn't it a huge process just to even? Well, I mean, hell, it's a huge process to even own a firearm, let alone get a CCW permit.
It depends on where you are. It's really just the bigger counties that are affected. A lot of the smaller counties are actually quite liberal. So you go up, into a lot of the more mountainous communities that are north of San Francisco or east of, Sacramento in Central California, in that area, and getting CCW is not actually that difficult.
Yeah, it's kind of like Massachusetts. It's any May issue state is, it's not May issue. May issue doesn't exist anywhere. It's no issue or shall issue. It just all depends on where you are.
Now, John, do you have those same issues where you are? Are you able to even get a permit or?
Yes, I can now, but when I first moved to the US, New Mexico had a part of their concealed weapons permit legislation was if you were not a US citizen, you could not get a concealed carry permit. About 5, maybe 6 years ago, the Second Amendment Foundation contacted me. They had a lawsuit ready to go against New Mexico for not allowing permanent residents to get a CCW. I was the name on that lawsuit, and the federal judge said, yes, you're denying him. I can't remember the exact words, but it was, you're denying him the right to protect himself. And as of 5 years ago, permanent residents could get a concealed weapons permit, which I have now. And to my knowledge, I was the first permanent resident that was allowed to get a concealed weapons permit.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I thought it was like, I'm the type of person that bitches and complains about things. And there was a gentleman on Facebook, I can't remember his name at the moment. He knew several high up people in Second Amendment Foundation, and he gave them my name and phone number, and they contacted me, and it just went from there.
So also they're apparently sending a bill to the governor to make it a misdemeanor to open carry a long gun.
No.
No, in California.
In California.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so they're in certain unincorporated areas in California, it was still legal to open carry an unloaded long gun. Basically, they're doing away with that. So some people might go hunting in those areas, so on and so forth. Making it a misdemeanor now to open carry a long gun in those areas. So taking away any open carry that the state had. So now they don't have open carry. They don't have a good CCW process. So it looks like they're really trying to force the hand of the Supreme Court to go ahead and do something, because they're taking away all the rights of the people, and at some point,
the Senate
you know,
hopes that they
going to
pass it because that's what you want. You want that golden case, and they're just laying it out right there. Is how can you argue that this is not against the and bear part of the keep and bear arms in the Second Amendment?
Okay, this might be a stupid question. If you go hunting with a rifle, you are open carrying. Are they going to be starting to use that legislation to stop hunting because you can't carry a rifle?
You never know. They're sneaky bastards.
Are they doing it just in certain sections, Kenny? Do you know?
The way I read it, it's apparently open carry was legal in unincorporated areas of certain counties. So those are typically less populated, and they are not supervised by the local governments there. They kind of have their own, just real loose oversight. So they're not an actual city. They're just kind of areas that kind of get overflow coverage from other more populated areas. They're rural. There's, very little population, but there's, people out there, they kind of rely on being able to take care of themselves because nobody's coming to help them. So now it looks like they're just going to take away any means for them to defend themselves if they are out there. Be interested to see, how this plays out and what's going to happen. It does look like Governor Brown is going to sign it when he goes to his desk.
So before we head out of the main news segment, I'd like to talk about the Tennessee churchgoers, because this kind of relates to the one we actually talked about a little bit ago. This 1 dead, 6 injured, 25-year-old Sudanese man came in and attacked a church. I believe it was in Tennessee, correct? Yes.
Yep, Tennessee.
And was subdued by an armed usher.
I thought the guy tackled him, and then the usher went out to his car and came back with his firearm. He actually wasn't armed in the church.
Does anybody know, does Tennessee have, I know a lot of the places, especially in the southern states, have laws against carrying in churches. Is Tennessee one of those states?
No, it isn't.
Okay.
No, you can carry in the church. Being from down south myself and being able to carry in churches, I know a lot of people don't. I remember I had a cousin, I think it was mid-'80s, early 80s actually, that was carrying in church. And I think he had a shoulder holster. And one of my aunts saw it and just couldn't believe that he'd have a gun in church. And there are no safe places. Can we stop this fallacy?
Not only are there no safe places, but I mean,
large congregations of people.
Yeah, and on top of that, I'm gonna, it's targeted people. Be it a church, be it a synagogue, be it a mosque.
Yep.
All of these things. There are people that have reasons to dislike you. And this guy was was Sudanese. I don't think they've given forward on a motive. It could possibly be the fact that this guy was not motivated for religious reasons against the people of this church, but it's a possibility at this point. Not only is a church not a safe place, but a church in theory could be a more dangerous place because it is a good target just for the fact that, it's a lot of people getting together and they're going to be paying attention to the sermon. But also there is that kind of statement of why would you carry in church? Of all places, why would you carry in church? There's that angle in there, which is going in the favor of the bad people. But also, if you're someone who hates Christians or someone who hates Muslims or someone who hates blacks and it's a black congregation, or someone who hates Hispanics and a Hispanic congregation, or someone who hates white people and it's a white congregation. There's any number of reasons of why a church becomes an extra juicy target for a horrible person.
Or someone just hates the whole world.
Yeah, and also they want to strike fear. And what a better place to strike fear except that place you think you're safe, that you're watched over by your whatever religion you hold dear. And my thing is, this continually proves that you have to do something. This man was unarmed when he confronted this guy and got beat down, and somehow the gun went off. We have no idea how it went off, but luckily the usher was able to get to his vehicle and come back with a gun and hold him at gunpoint.
Yep.
That's just another
Do
example
something.
of, though, have the gun on you. Like, not criticizing the usher at all. You know,
Not at all,
maybe there was some reason he wasn't carrying, but I mean, having that firearm with you, he was extremely lucky that that guy wasn't able to bring the gun to bear on him as he approached him.
Yep.
Yep.
You know,
All I know is anytime I'm in church, it's a safe place.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one. I don't know if you've heard about it, but in New Mexico last week at a Circle K, a lady that worked there, she shot a robber, like an armed assailant that came in. And she has been on suspension, and the company asked her to resign, and she told them to shove it. Sack me. And
Circle K will fire you.
I think they did actually fire her.
Yeah, Circle K will fire you.
My latest, well, what I've read lately, nothing is. They're not going to do anything at the moment because the news is on it. Every night it's on our local news. Her mother started a GoFundMe account so that because she's got 2 kids, single mother, they expected $20,000. She's got $70,000 that people have donated to her. But she was lucky because she didn't have it on her when she started her shift. Someone came in and said that they witnessed an armed robbery further down the road. She went out to her car, got her handgun, came back in. 2 guys walked in with masks. One pulled a gun on her. She pulled a Ruger out of her pocket. She racked the slide to put a round into the chamber. Then she shot the guy. And
yeah, she was lucky on a lot of different levels.
Oh, hell yes. But the guy she shot, he ran out. His partner just ran for his life. Found out later it was a BB gun that the guy was carrying. And the police have said she will not be charged, which I thought was awesome.
Good.
Well, there was a similar story to that too on in our neck of the woods. I don't know if you remember this story, Ryan. You might be able to fill in some of the details because it was, I bet it's close to 5-6 years ago. It was a guy who was working at a 7-Eleven in New Hampshire, and
yes.
I believe he'd been robbed a few times before, and so he'd started taking to carrying his gun against company policy. And robber came in, stuck a gun in his face, and he shot and killed the robber. And again, police said, no charges. You acted appropriately in that circumstance. But of course, 7-Eleven's not going to let, an employee disobey their company policy. They fired him. And there was a mom and pop convenience store up the road a piece. They called the guy up and said, if you want a job, you've got a job. The guy came and started working for them. And they called every newspaper in the state to let them know that they hired this guy and that they don't have any policy like that. Don't you come rob us.
Nice.
And oddly enough, this has been at least 5 years ago, and they haven't been robbed.
Well, the thing is, sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Oh, I actually won't buy. I won't go into a 7-Eleven. I won't give them my money because of this policy.
This lady, she's been she's been out of work, but one of our local gun shops, they've interviewed her, and I'm pretty certain they're going to offer her a job.
Oh, that's awesome.
Great publicity for the gun shop gun range, and the lady has a job.
So, Tony, with your statement about not patronizing 7-Elevens, there's many reasons not to. Tony, do you know if since you're in New Jersey, do you know if Wawa has any policy against carrying?
I actually don't know if Wawa has a policy against carrying.
Good, because I don't want to stop going into Wawa whenever I'm in your neck of the woods. It's a great chain.
So pledge your support for the show at firearmsradio.tv/pledge. Pledge at the after show level and hang out with us after the show every other episode. And I don't think that's this one. So we're into the I'm Offended segment. Chicago gun control activist gets a gun because her neighborhood is too dangerous.
I wonder why.
I'm a gun control activist, but let's not get crazy with this.
I love these hypocrites that do this.
It's not even hypocrites. There are so many of the gun control activists that either have guns or have people that have guns. I mean, I was, at the NRA convention this year. I went to the Moms Demand Action protest, and Shannon Watts had 3 armed dudes, all watching her back. So she's against guns, but she wants to have them nearby.
What is it with these activists?
She just wants to take them away from you.
Yeah.
What is it with these activists getting hit in the head with things? I remember Deval Patrick from Massachusetts saying he got hit he was a victim of violence when he was younger. He got hit in the head with a soda can or something when he was a kid. And this woman got hit in the head with a brick. What's going on with that?
Oh, well, mustn't have hit her hard enough.
I get it.
Yeah. Thick skulls have to be dealt with somehow.
But and on top of that, I mean, I know of a bunch of anti-gun activists who aren't, the high upper echelon, have paid guards and all that, but they've got guns, and it's a pretty common theme on the no, I'm qualified to have guns. You're not qualified to have guns.
Yeah, we just
and you'll hear people here in Massachusetts. There's all sorts of people that will say to me, "Oh yeah, weird. I'm totally fine with you having guns, but some mythical other dude, I don't want him to have guns."
Yep. Here's the same thing. Right now, the guy running for governor here in Jersey that pretty much is gonna get it because he's gonna buy his way into office. Phil Murphy, vote against him if you can. He's real anti-gun. Says he's gonna sign every anti-gun bill that comes across his desk. I was told this weekend or last weekend he has a gun collection that rivals the NRA museum.
Oh, damn!
Yeah,
that must be a hell of a collection.
Well, he's a billionaire. He's one of the Goldman Sachs billionaires, like Corzine when he was the governor of New Jersey. This is another guy. If you don't know who he is, it's rumored that he's running for governor, at which he's buying his way in. He bought all the Democrats off. No one's going to run against him. So ran against him during a primary. He's planning on running for president. And this is just a stepping stone for it. So if you don't know him now, you'll hear about him later.
Yeah, it's like we've heard time and time again. It's all about control. It has nothing to do with the guns. It's just a way to, just put the screws to the little people so they can.
Well, you look at the last Australian gun buyback. They got, off the top of my head, I can't think of the number of weapons that were handed back, sold back. But it's ridiculous. Like, to try and get firearms back home, like, you've got to jump through that many hoops. The police have to come out and check that you have a safe to put your firearms in, and another safe to put your ammunition in. It's just ludicrous.
Contribute to the Firearms Radio Network and This Week in Guns by shopping with our Amazon affiliate link by clicking the Amazon banners on the website and heading to firearmsradio.tv/Amazon. So we're into the full auto news segment, stories the real media won't talk about and other crazy stuff. So this is where each host picks a story to call their own. So Kenny, we will start with you.
All right. Well, I just love the new Spikes tactical lower that they came out with. They've got the new Snowflake lower, which is very fitting in these times. And I love it. The markings on it are safe space, triggered, and full libtard.
I like the video they put with it too. I just put a nice little bow on it.
Oh, Mookie's great.
That is awesome. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their ideas for it. I do like the unicorn on the front, though. That's pretty awesome.
Indeed.
So, Weird, what was your pick?
I'm going to go with the gold member penis.
I knew you would.
Everyone knows. Come on, more hog.
Oh my goodness!
I don't know what else I can say with it. It is a muzzle brake.
Should just change that link to Weird's link.
And it is shaped like a willy whacker.
I should buy this. Put this on the end of your FFL or FAL there.
I can't. I live in Massachusetts.
Not soon.
Well, technically speaking, currently my FAL is insanely illegal, and I could go to jail for it because.
Well, I mean, if you live in Massachusetts, so wouldn't this be a way to like just tell them you're gonna just screw the laws?
Dad joke. I mean, I can't add anything more to that. That is just though as a marine biologist now looking at the picture of this gold willy whacker that has it's got the little holes, it's got the ports on the side of it. Someone needs to make a muzzle brake that looks like a lamprey, because that's what the gill slits look like.
The description is ridiculous. This is not a casting from Hong Kong, spelled C-O-N-G. It took 36,000 lines of CNC code to mill it, 36,000 individual moves of a CNC machine, 3 hours of multi-axis CNC machining center work, plus second operations to drill and thread the ... 1/2 by 28 inch.
Wait,
The diameter.
oh, please, let me see. Where is this thing at?
The link is, the link is in the show notes.
Ew. I was actually I was reading up on.
Even better is they give the statement: the diameter of the urethra is 0.275, suitable for .223, not suitable for .30 caliber.
Well, here's the funny part. That has to be put in there because of places like Jersey, because we have to have comps. We can't have muzzle devices. So it has to be the same diameter as the bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Very important.
What do you say to the Jersey cop that's arresting you for this?
There's nothing to say. Visually, you tell him what you want him to do.
John, what was your...
This is so Jersey.
John, what was your pick for the Full Auto News segment?
Oh, God. Denver police snipers drop suspect holding woman hostage.
Oh, I remember this one.
I watched the video, and I still cannot see where the guy was shot.
This was pretty old. This actually happened like 2 years. I remember seeing this almost a year and a half ago.
Is this the one with the AR?
No, this is the one where the guy comes out of the convenience store. He kind of walks to our left, and if you're looking from the perspective of the video, and he's got this older woman in front of him, and you can see him fall from the side. He's wearing a gray hoodie, and all of a sudden there's just a shot, and he just drops like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah, you can't see any blood or anything like that. So I don't know if he was hit in the back, hit in the ass, or where. I know he wasn't hit in the head because the head didn't explode.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was no, there's nothing on the door. I mean, the door, I don't even really think that, if I recall correctly, the glass doesn't even shatter on the door.
No, there's no, it really does look, if this wasn't a real story, I would say it's probably a mock-up, but it's not a mock-up.
But you got to remember, too, I'm sure the cops are using some pretty, decent rounds that are going to expand and maybe not penetrate through.
Why are you assuming that? Why are you even assuming that?
Well, I mean, and also and you got to remember too, the sniper. We don't know how far away he is. The camera is up close, but the sniper could be quite a ways away.
Yeah, I don't.
Still see blood. If he was hit in wherever, you would be able to see where some blood was.
Yeah, the sniper's pretty close though, because you hear the report at the same time as the guy drops. So
unlike military snipers, police snipers don't really have to be far.
Right,
for the most part.
Maybe across the street at most.
Yeah. I mean that's just the general nature of a police sniper. Is you don't have to be very far at all.
But
you don't have to sneak.
This guy.
Yeah, he had his last bad day. Haha.
Oh, good, yes.
That old woman is terrified too. She does not have any idea what happened. She's just like, "Oh man, what?"
Yeah, she was just there to get a lottery tickets. Now this happened.
Yeah.
And
I like it boxed and straight.
And the thing was, those cops were there within maybe 2 seconds. So they had to have been really, really close to where that guy was with that older lady.
Well, what does this guy think he's going to do? Look at how many cop cars are out front of the store. You're one, really, really crappy robber with a friggin' hoodie on. What are you going to do against the entire Denver Police Department? If you're robbing convenience stores, you're not a smart person. I mean, what's the best? I mean, it's one of those maybe if you rob the bank from heat,
maybe you could calculate a scenario where, you know, that gabillion dollars that you're carrying out in like 6 duffel bags and you're huffing and puffing to lug into the car, maybe that will be worth what it would take for you to get away with all of that. But going into the 7-Eleven where they're emptying the till like every couple hours to, you know, so that there's maybe $300 in the till, what are you going to do with that?
You could have distracted them with the golden muzzle brake.
Yeah, that's it. That's probably what it was. That's how you got such a clean shot. He was like, "Hey, is that a? Look at the size of that urethra." Bang, gone.
So, Tony, I'm kind of afraid to ask what your story is, but what's your story?
Well, there's nothing really here worth looking at. I mean, because they pulled the video of the cop that shot himself, so that ticked me off. So I had to go to something else embarrassing. Monument to Mikhail Kalashnikov depicts the German rifle. I love this because somehow, and I love it, Germany attacked Russia, invaded, whole thing, and Mikhail Kalashnikov eventually developed the AK-47, but he said he never saw the Sturmgewehr. Never, ever. It has nothing to do with the AK at all. Never seen it, never heard of her. So they make a statue to him, and it has a lot of different AK-inspired firearms on it. It's pretty cool, actually. AK-inspired firearms on the statue, and it also has the blueprint to a Sturmgewehr. And I guess, what did they do? Unveil it? And then someone pointed out that it was a German gun, so they had to take a grinder to it off.
You know what I can't wait for? When they put a 1911 on Glock's statue.
Nice. Well, you know, I mean, it is a Glock. It's a 1911 derivative.
What's really funny too is I believe it was Nathaniel on the Firearms blog, but somebody had pulled it up, figured out if you do a Google image search for AK-47, I believe was the search term on it.
Mm-hmm.
I need to look it up, but you scroll down far enough, you will find the exact exploded parts diagram for the Sturmgewehr.
Why wouldn't you?
So it's probably more than likely it is literally just lazy Google foo.
And truthfully, if the designer of this would have just bought the cleaning mat from Patriot Patch Company that has the exploded AK-47, he would have been fine.
That's what happens when you use Google.ru.
Nice. Nice.
Oh.
So that's the story that I picked.
All right. So again, check out Patriot Patch Company. We're going to wrap up the show here. So patriotpatch.co. Leave your feedback by commenting on the bottom of this YouTube video, on the bottom of the show notes at firearmsradio.tv. Leave us a review on iTunes at thisweekinguns.com/iTunes, and help the show. We have the FRN Amazon affiliate link in the show notes, and pledge at firearmsradio.tv/pledge. This Week in Guns, it's produced by Kenny Ortega and Anthony Milliner, is a production of the Firearms Radio Network. And everyone, thank you so much for coming on the show. I know I kind of asked at the last minute. John, thank you very much for coming on.
Not a problem at all.
Kenny, thank you very much for doing the show notes.
I'm glad to do it.
And Tony, I know you probably have something you want to promote because I see notifications from you every week. So what would you like to promote? And thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. Yes, I blew up Facebook and somebody snitched on me, and I was banned until today from posting.
That's why I haven't seen you.
Yeah, it was really debilitating because I wake up 4 o'clock in the morning to freaking super post. And I didn't get the extra sleep. Anyway, I run the Second is for Everyone Diversity Shoot, which is a Second Amendment workshop that invites people from all backgrounds to come to the gun range. Look it up. Check out what we do on diversityshoot.com. Our next event is October 5th at Gun for Hire Range in Woodland Park, New Jersey. Actually, last weekend, I was hanging out with Maj Touré doing New Jersey's only Second Amendment conference, which was in Princeton this year. And he told me to start a GoFundMe, so I did. So if you want to help us out, please go to GoFundMe and look for the Second is for Everyone, 2A4E. That's what I put down. Any donation to help, it helps me buy food, helps me buy ammo. And it just helps me with travel expenses going to point A to point B because we've actually grown And that turned out to be a problem because now I have people in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and throughout New Jersey that wants me to actually host events. And I buy food at every event for everyone. And I also have prizes, giveaways, and raffles. So it all of a sudden it's a success, but it got expensive. So I'm taking any help I can get. Appreciate you guys for having me on and let me talk about this, as I always am.
Absolutely. And Weird, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at my blog, which is weirdworld.com. You can find me on Handgun Radio with, I don't know, some other guy. You could also find me on
Weird. You're the talent, Weird. I'm just saying.
I'm the talent. The other guy just pushes record.
We got to have John and Kenny on Handgun Radio here.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
I'm also on the Score Report and the Gun Blog Variety Cast.
Excellent. There are links in the show notes of the Handgun Radio show, so go check those show notes out if you want to go find Weird at those other places. Again, thank you everybody for coming on. And until next week, have fun and safe shooting, because I don't know any other way to sign this episode off.